All right, everyone, well, welcome. I'm Dylan Christie. This is Don MacArthur, and our special guest. You all know him. Just a brief introduction. He was the first Canadian astronaut to walk in space, the first Canadian commander of the International Space Station, a New York Times best-selling author, a social media sensation, and this weekend he'll be performing alongside the Windsor Symphony Orchestra with about a dozen songs co-written in space. So, Chris Hadfield, welcome to Windsor.
Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
All right, well, right off the bat.
Let's do a voice. Are you guys hearing everybody on stage okay in the back, or do we need our microphones closer?
You're good?
We're all right? Okay, great.
All right, well, you released a book this week, your second one, You Are Here, and Windsor is prominently featured on the cover. You have Detroit and Windsor. Can you talk about
Not just prominently, Windsor is on the cover of this book.
Right.
You know, a lot of people, when I send a picture down from space, they say, "Oh, your picture's sideways," like the world only has one way up, which is really funny from orbit. So you'll even notice this picture is not in your conventional orientation of which way we put our maps, because this is just Windsor on the left side, and but my very first memory of aviation is my dad brought me down to the Windsor Air Show when I was about 4 years old, and we watched an aerobatic team called the Golden Hawks fly here, and it was my first understanding of aviation and looking at these beautiful Canadian airplanes flying. And so the picture of the Windsor Airport is in this image as well. And on my 50th birthday, I got to bring one of those Golden Hawks down here and fly it myself out of the Windsor Air Show in the late August of my 50th year. So it's been kind of the touchstone of aviation for my entire life. It also shows so much history of two countries and so much geology with the Great Lakes. I just thought it was the perfect picture to have on a book to help show people where we all live together.
Excellent. Well, thank you. So while you were up in space, you write that you took over 45,000 photographs. You picked some of the best ones for this book. But it's not your full-time job. You're up there, you're an astronaut, you have a lot of stuff going on.
In fact, NASA doesn't give you 1 second to take pictures.
So it takes a lot of management.
No time. Your time is fully booked doing the experiments and fixing the spaceship. You just do that if you get a little ahead of time or when you're supposed to be sleeping. That's when you take pictures.
That's incredible. And yet somehow you found time to coordinate with Robert Franz here, the conductor of the Windsor Symphony Orchestra. Can you talk about how all that came to fruition and what brought you here to actually step on stage with the symphony?
I've played music my whole life. I learned originally from my mom, who's a musician, and my brothers and I play, and it's just I think a really important, delightful part of life. And for the last 26 years, I lived outside of Canada in Russia, but predominantly in the States. And for the last 21 years in Houston. And I played music in several bands down in Houston and went and saw the symphony play. I played with the local school with their choir, a school called Pearl Hall. In fact, Jamie Lupol is here from Pearl Hall taking pictures today. And they do events, community events with the orchestra, with the Windsor Symphony. And they bring in students, and I went in and sang some songs, and when the symphony heard this one song, this space song that my brother had written called Big Smoke, the Houston Symphony thought it would be a lovely part of their family presentations, ends of their 4th of July presentation. And so with a choir from the kids' school and myself singing with the symphony, that's when I first met Robert Franz down there. And so then, as things tend to do, it snowballed so that here I am now in space with time to actually write music and record music while in orbit, and cleverly and as he is, very, very sort of clairvoyantly, he thought ahead and thought, wouldn't it be great when you come back if we could not only reprise what we did down in Houston, but maybe take that new music, make it full orchestral, and then play it back here in Canada. And this is the world premiere. These songs have never been played publicly. They sure haven't been played publicly with a symphony. And so I am so looking forward to this. And to have 4 performances means I have a chance to get it right, which is the good part for the man who's got the whole orchestra in his hands over there, hoping that I don't muff it up too badly. But thank you for the invitation, Robert, and I'm really looking forward to this as a continuation of a long cooperation and helping people see things differently together.
Okay, so are you going to be playing guitar, and are your family members going to be involved in this? I think I might. Your wife Helena, she might be actually conducting.
She's not today, but one of the performances I think my wife is going to conduct here. It's that takes a different type of nerve, right? And of course, my wife's not short on nerve, but I think we'll see for sure. I will keep it as a bit of a surprise to see how it turns out. But yeah, I'll be playing guitar and singing. And I have friends and family visiting, and we'll see. Maybe Helena will have a chance to try her hand at conducting also. We'll see how it goes.
Okay, there's a question I've just been dying to ask you. I'm a huge Leafs fan. 1993, The Passion Returns. Of course, you tweeted from space holding...
I dropped a puck from space, in fact.
Okay,
right,
all right. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. But anyway, there's a story, I don't know if it's true, but that you're in space, the Leafs are beating the Boston Bruins 4-1. You leave orbit, you come down, biggest collapse in Maple Leafs history, and your wife has to break the news to you on the phone. True, or how did that go down?
We both went down in flames that same day. I was, in fact, I was wearing my Leaf shirt underneath my spacesuit, which, if anybody known, I would have been in trouble. But I came back and I came, down through the atmosphere, 3,000 degrees on the outside, my shirt getting all sweaty underneath everything, plowing through the atmosphere, slamming back to Earth, vehicle tumbles to a stop, Russians open up the hatch, drag us out, you feel like you've just been through a car crash or something, just awful. They plunk you down in a chair, and they hand you a cell phone, you say, "It's your wife." Oh. Great. I said, "Hey, honey, how you doing?" "Fine." "How'd the Leafs do?" She said, "Oh, I'm sorry." So that was my welcome back to Earth. But this year, I think.
Plan the parade. Plan the parade.
This year, I think so, yeah. This year.
All right. Well, you say in your book that if you don't know what to be alarmed about, then you should be alarmed. I'm paraphrasing. But that you try and prepare for everything as best you can. This symphony, this has got to be a first for you. It is. How did you prepare for this? Are you terrified? Are you alarmed going into this?
Yeah, from the book, if you don't know what to be alarmed about, then everything is alarming.
Yeah.
And no one wants a terrified astronaut. So we try and get ready for stuff. But also, what's the real difference between danger and fear? Mm-hmm. I mean, what is the worst thing that's going to happen up there? I don't think any of us are going to burst into flame or this isn't fatal.
Yeah.
I'm up singing songs in front of a bunch of friends and songs that I'm really proud of. So if we muff it up, so what? I mean, it's music. Music is not perfection. Music is an expression of art to be shared. And I'm going to do my best to make these songs beautiful for people. And so I practiced them and wrote them, and of course I do sweat the small stuff. So I have picks in 2 different pockets and I'll put a pick on my stand. I have my music on paper, and I'll have my music on iPad in case the paper flies away. And if all else fails, I'll just make up words as I go. Excellent. But the real key is that how do you share a wonderful experience in life? And I have had such an opportunity, so privileged as a Canadian to fly in space 3 times and to command the spaceship. And it ends up being symbolic for a lot of people. So how do you share that with people? And the first book I wrote was to try and share useful ideas. The second book is trying to give people a perception of what the world really looks like and how we fit in. But then the music is how you really share it. A combination of talking about it, of seeing some of the imagery up behind us, and then the emotion and the unspoken common understanding that music brings us. That's what's going on tonight. It's not about whether you forget a word or miss a note. It doesn't really matter. Music is just a wonderful, almost intuitive language that all of us share. And I'm really pleased to have a chance to be part of it tonight and tomorrow and the day after that.
Excellent.
Okay, you got 950,000 new followers on Twitter when you started taking out those pictures. You're a Canadian hero. To Dylan, for sure, he's got an autographed picture, I know. And to a lot of kids out there, there's some in the audience today. And if somebody wants to be an astronaut, or if somebody wants to sort of be the best kid they can be, what's your advice?
I think the most important thing is to define for yourself at some time in the future, say when I'm choose an age, when I'm 45, if my life goes perfectly, what will I be? If my life, and choose your name, I'm 55, so when I'm 70, if my life goes perfectly from here, what will I be doing when I'm 70? If it went perfectly, let yourself dream. Like when I was a 9-year-old kid just up the river here by Sarnia, and I said, when I'm 45, I want to walk on the moon. That's my definition of perfection. And then use that to help you decide what to do next. That's the real key, because all of us are always deciding what to do next. What am I going to do this weekend? What am I going to do next weekend? What am I going to do tonight? And if you don't know where you're trying to take your life, then how do you ever know what to do next? You know, it's going to be the result of your decisions, so why not at least give yourself... And you're not going to walk on the moon. I haven't walked on the moon, but it doesn't matter. It gave me a direction that helped me make my choices, and it eventually led me to do all sorts of interesting things, from being a CF-18 pilot, being a test pilot, living at the bottom of the ocean, scuba diving, living in other countries, and even indirectly led to having a chance to play with the Windsor Symphony. So I think that is the most important thing. Give yourself a dream right on the edge of possible, and then actively pursue it with each decision you make, and it's amazing where it can take you.
Okay, I guess we should check here. We don't want to dominate all the time. Is there anybody in the crowd here who has a question? Okay.
How much fun is weightlessness?
How much fun is weightlessness? It is the most fun thing ever. It's it's like magic. It's like you have a superpower. Suddenly you can fly, and not just for a second. Not unless like you just jumped out of a plane and soon you're going to schmuck into the ground, or riding in the back of a bus. But you can now fly perpetually all the time, and you can grab Dylan and just move him around with your finger. I could throw Dylan across the room, and it's weightlessness is like a toy that never winds down. It is just perpetual delight. And right up until the last seconds of it. I wore this watch all through my last space flight, and I keep the strap really loose because for the whole 5 months it was floating around my wrist like a snake. And it reminded me, when I was busy, it reminded me where I was, because it was like alive on my wrist the whole time. And so I keep the strap loose now because it makes me smile and remind me of what it was like to be weightless for half a year. It's fun. You'd like it. You ought to try it. It's fun. Yeah.
Yep.
When you first went into space and saw down on the Earth, what was your first thought?
When you first go into space, launch is really, really hard. Launch is dangerous. Launch takes years and years of preparation. So almost everything that you are is focused on getting from Earth to space. And what that means is when the engines do shut off, takes about 9 minutes, about as long as we've been here, from sitting on the launch pad to being in orbit. When the engines do shut off, there's kind of a rush of emotion, right? Your first one is relief, because now you have made it to space. Nobody can ever take that away. What was a dream for your life to that point is now inevitably a reality. And so there's a great sense of relief at finally getting to this place that you've been chasing. And then there's an immediate sense of wonder, because all the stuff that was stuck to the floor starts floating because you're instantaneously weightless. So you laugh and you unstrap out of your seat. But the first thing every single person wants to do, and you'd be the same, is to go to the window and see the world. And your spaceship's upside down, so the main windows face the world. And so you pull yourself over to the window, and it's maybe like walking into a gigantic cathedral. That sort of feeling of reverent awe, of seeing something really rare all of a sudden. Even though you might have seen pictures of Notre Dame, to walk into Notre Dame is different. And it's like that, only magnified. And the world goes by so fast. I mean, we launch out of Florida, my first 2 flights. By the time you pull yourself over to the window, you're looking down at England. And it's only been a dozen minutes, and you're over England. And while you're watching, England's gone, and then comes Central Europe, and then you're over the edge of Africa. And it's just there, pouring by underneath you with colors and textures. So you feel an awe and a reverence and like a little kid's wonder and delight, and a tremendous sense of privilege and responsibility for being allowed to be one of the few people so far to see that. So it's, and it gets better when you start to get to know the world. That first feeling of newness fades, and then you start to just really see the world and get to know it. And if we weren't so busy on the station, all we do is look out the window. It's magnificently, constantly, refreshingly beautiful to see the world.
Excellent.
When you were looking at the Earth, how big did it look? How did it
What's your name? Christopher. Nice to meet you, Christopher. How big did the world look when we looked at it? It depends how far away you are, and how high we are. On the space station, we're way above the atmosphere, way above the atmosphere. But we're not that far away from the world. We're only about 420 kilometers up. So, you know, that's like from here to Toronto, really, sort of tipped straight up. So it's not that far. But from there, from overhead here, you can see Regina. So you could see that much of the world. You could see Florida. You can see Newfoundland from overhead of Windsor. So you see that much. But you're going fast. So if you just wait a minute, then you're already coming up on the Atlantic. And if you wait 20 minutes, you're over Africa. So even though you're not far enough away to see the whole world at a glance, if you just wait a few minutes, you see the whole world nice and close up. It's only the few people that have left the orbit of the world and gone to the moon. There's only a handful that have done that. 12 people walking on the moon. They are the only ones who've seen the world just as a ball floating in space. And so the world looks somehow huge and massive and ancient at the same time as it looks tiny and rare and fragile, all at the same time. It's a good question, Christopher.
Okay, sir, we'll take one more question, then we got to start the jam, I would think.
When you dock on the International Space Station, was there only one port where you could dock, or was there several?
The question is, when you dock with the International Space Station, is there only one port? No, let me tally them up. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 in the Russian segment, and then the American side, there are 1, 2, 3. Well, it depends what docking equipment you have, but it has about 7 docking ports on it. So it's busy. Sometimes almost every port is full. It's like a train station up there. Almost every week or so, or 2 weeks, another vehicle was coming up or another vehicle was going down, and so it was back and forth all the time, and unmanned ships coming up and occasionally a manned ship coming up. It's the traffic model of how we undock and redock and bring things up. It's more complex than anybody knows. It's a busy place.
Excellent. Okay, well, Chris, you're busy today. We're happy to have you in, so let's try and get a song in or two. So let's get that going.
Great. One, two. So I don't know if I should do a song that we're doing tonight. Maybe we should do something else. Actually, I'm going to do this song that Ed Robertson and I wrote because this song had a huge impact in Canada. We have a nice charity program in Canada called Coalition for Music Education, and on the first Monday in May, we try and get all the kids in all the choirs in the whole country to sing the same song together at the same time. It's kind of a nice idea, and we can connect by technology, so you can tie in and see kids all across the country all singing the same song. So Ed and I wrote this song, which was fun, back and forth by email, and then getting together and then practicing while I was in orbit. And the song's called Is Somebody Singing? And when I sang it from orbit with kids across Canada, I was up there playing on a Larry Vay guitar that's lived. There's a guitar up on the space station, by the way, that was put there by the NASA psychiatrists. That's why there's a guitar on the station, because even they recognize how fundamentally important music is just to being human. And it's a Canadian guitar. It's made by the Larry Vay Guitar Company. And so with me up on the space station, floating weightless, playing this song, I sang live with 700,000 Canadian kids, all at the same time singing this song, which is about exploration and self-betterment and perspective. And it was such a delight to do it. It may be the most significant thing I do in my whole life, to have 700,000 kids internalize that as what's normal, as a thing. Canadians command spaceships, and I sing along with them, and we all know the same words. To me, that transcends a lot of different natural barriers. So this is how the song goes. On solid fuel and wires, turn the key and light the fires. We're leaving Earth today. This rocket's burning bright. We'll soon be out of sight and orbiting in space. Push back in my seat, look out my window, there goes home. That ball of shiny blue Christopher was asking about houses everybody, anybody ever knew. So sing your song, I'm listening. Out where stars are glistening, I can hear your voices bouncing off the moon. If you could see our nation from the international... It's really hard to get this lyric into a song. International Space Station, you know why I wanna get back soon. You know why I wanna get back soon. You know why I wanna get back soon. Yay. To hear the whole song, you got to come tonight.
All right, well, everyone, thank you for coming out. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for. But let's hear it again for Chris Hadfield. He will quickly be signing autographs. If you do have a book, you can meet us over there. He's got to go, though, so let's make it quick. There are still tickets available for Saturday's performance. Call the Windsor Symphony box office. They can put you on a waiting list. They're single seats, but they'll try and make it work. So thank you, everyone, for coming out.